Welcome once again to the Bills and Bones podcast. I'm Gio, and I'm here as always with my co-host PC. We are joined today by our guest Jay. We started Bills and Bones to talk football for the fans with a focus on PC's team, the Buffalo Bills, and my team, the Las Vegas Raiders. This week we're talking about what went on with the draft over the weekend for both teams. We're also going to discuss if the NFL games should continue to be played overseas now that we're going to be facing a longer season. If this is your first show, thanks for joining us, and we're glad you're here. Today's episode is brought to you by Morty's Mortuary. If you were alive, you'd choose us. Okay, guys, so let's get into it. So, talking about the draft for on the Raiders side of things, I'm not really upset about it. Going into this, I wanted one of two things to happen. Either I wanted us to just kind of sell it all away and go for someone like Jaden, or I wanted us to strengthen every other part of the team. From going through this whole draft process, it looks like they went with the second option, and I think they did a good job with that option. It's not necessarily all the decisions that I would have made, but I'm also not in their position. I will say, as far as Raiders drafts go, it was the most hopeful draft that I've had in a while. Our draft choices are downright horrifying. So I will say that as far as the draft goes, I'm definitely not mad at Tom. I don't know how much input AP had into it. To tell you the truth, I don't think AP had a lot of input into the draft. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that Tom grabbed the reins there. We'll see if some more reports come out later, if he was more involved than I think he is. But I actually think that he was more there to learn some things this year, opposed to making some of those big decisions. So speaking of big decisions here, nobody saw it coming that we were going to use our first pick on a tight end. No one saw that coming. When it came out, all the Raiders fans that were there at the draft, you looked at them, they were all looking around like, what's going on here? What's happening? We don't understand this. The Raider forum was going off. I was watching that while we were doing the draft. None of them knew what was going on. It just came out of nowhere. To explain that pick, I think what happened is we wanted that big quarterback, but everybody, as you saw, predictably, everybody went quarterback. Everybody took them all. So what they would have done in the past is they would have settled on a horrible quarterback just to say, okay, cool, we got a quarterback. That's what they would have done in the past. So I'm not mad at the Raiders for taking the best off the board and saying, okay, we can't get our quarterback that we wanted, but we got this, amazing guy. I love Brock Bowers. George is my team, so I've loved watching him. He's on the board. Let's grab him, and he'll be a great asset for us. So I'm not mad at that decision. We have a very good tight end in Mayer as well. So now we have two key tight ends. So it'll be interesting to see if our offense winds up looking a little different this year. I will say that Bowers is definitely not your blocking kind of tight end. He's more like a Kelsey or like a Kittle, where he's that receiver tight end. Whereas Mayer, I mean, he's definitely proven that he can catch a ball, but he has that bigger presence as far as making those holes and helping out that run and making those blocks. So the two of them together, I think, can actually be a pretty nice 1-2 punch. I also feel that Bowers is ready to go. I think that it's important in the draft to get one or two players that you draft them, you can put them there out in the field and let's see what happens. And I think that he's one of I think we have three players actually that I could see going right out there. He's definitely one of them that I think that he's ready to go. He's described as being relentless when he's out there. He runs his route. He beats his man in coverage. He gets open. He makes those hard catches. He's a beast of a guy. Where he falls short, for those of you guys that are wondering, is he could get better as that move blocker. As I said, he could get better with that. He, is a very explosive sort of athlete. I expected him to go a little earlier. We got lucky. I think that everybody needed a quarterback, so we got lucky with that, and that's why we were able to get him. He did have an injury. People have said, well, we don't like to pick up injured guys. He did have that injury, but he was out for 26 days on that injury, and then he was back in there playing. His injury was a high ankle sprain. It wasn't, like his Achilles or, he's done with his career or something. After 26 days, he couldn't take it anymore, and he got back out there on the field. He was All-American. He had 8-yard touchdown after he came back from his injury. I mean, he's proven himself. He could have just sat out the rest of the year. He chose not to do that. Obviously, he was a standout at Georgia. First All-Team American honors. He won that 3 times. He's got 40 career games over 3 seasons with 175 receptions, a little over 2,500 yards and 26 touchdowns. This guy can catch a ball. He can extend those plays. I think he's going to be key for the Raiders. And hopefully he's part of our offensive plan moving forward, because I'm excited about a new offense and a new style and a new plan to get us back to where we need to be. And I'm hoping that he's a component of that.
So I just have two things. One, as a new age tight end, this hybrid that is being used by a lot of NFL teams, including the Bills with Kincaid for that matter, they are assets to an offense. But, when you start comparing them to guys like Kittle and Kelsey, those two can certainly lay the lumber and will block, and that is a huge part of getting better at that position. You hit the nail right on the head, G. If he doesn't come out there and, get better at everything, sure, he'll be a big component of the offense, but it's just going to get him on the field even more if he can do those types of things, if he can block. And it's also going to, allow them to mix it up with what they're going to do. As well as I do, that quarterback next year, he may struggle, and you're going to want to run the ball and get it working with the tight ends. And having a guy like that in the slot or even at the line of scrimmage could be very beneficial for an offense.
Yeah, I think that he's gonna be a really good check down for either of whoever we go with. You guys know by now I am not a fan of Aiden. I think that he was a waste of a pick when we picked him. I think he's a waste of a pick now, but whatever. I'm okay with him as a number 2, I guess. So I'm hoping it's gonna be Minshew. But either way, he's that really nice, quick option. And any Bills fan that played against Brady knows what happens with little quick options all the time going up the field. So I'm looking forward to that. I'd like to see a new offense. I'm excited about a new offense. Everyone's saying like AP's offense is going to be, run the ball 5 yards, stop, run the ball 5 yards, stop, run the ball 5 yards, stop. I don't think that that's going to be the case. I think that he wants to have a more versatile offense. I think he wants to capitalize on those little plays. I have no problem with those little 6-8 yard passes, and then that extends out to those 20 yards, at 25 yards after the play. I like that style of game. I like keeping the ball a little bit closer. I don't need my quarterback to throw it down 80 yards. I'm fine with you throw it 15 and you get your guy to get you the rest. I'm good with that. And I'm hoping that a 2 tight end strategy might play to the strengths of both Minshew and Aiden, as far as we're not going to call on them to sit in a pocket forever and throw it all the way down the field, and then hopefully Devontae gets it or whatever else. I think it's going to take a lot of pressure out of them. Aiden really struggles with reading a defense. He really struggles with that pocket presence. So he's going to need some quick pass help, some quick dump off help. And I could totally see Brock Bowers as part of that answer. I think he'll make Aiden look a lot more effective as a quarterback, because we're not going to have the passes that go nowhere, or the no pass at all, because he's not reading a defense and getting sacked. I think it'll be very helpful to our offense.
I think that your team did the best thing that it could. It got the best available player. They didn't pick on anyone. He was just sitting there. You look at the Broncos and they pick up, I think it was Bo Nix, and it's like, really? You're going to go with that? So for the
Or the
Raiders to
Falcons.
say, oh, oof,
What the
I
hell?
wasn't even going to bring up that one, but yeah. So you look at your team and you say, wow, we got an amazing, explosive player that will be impactful for years, hopefully more than a decade. And that's where you have to say that's the value.
I'm looking forward to watching him develop. In the past, I didn't want to get a developing player because I didn't trust the people we have in place to develop anybody correctly. I have faith in our process now, and I think that we do have the ability to develop some people. And I don't think that Brock Bowers needs a lot of development. I think that he needs, unfortunately, what we don't have right now is an experienced tight end that can kind of take him under his wing and show him all the ropes. We have two fairly new powerhouses for tight ends now, but we don't have like a seasoned veteran. Like if you paired him with a Kittle for a season or something like that, he would learn tons from that, and that's what we don't have. So that's the obstacle for us to get around is how do we develop him the right way? How do we avoid the frustrations of an early career and he's not performing? How do we avoid that? I think that he's going to go out there and he's going to be a presence immediately. And it's just going to be a matter of him getting used to the pace of the NFL and him finding that niche. And hopefully we have offensive strategies that are going to play to his strengths to help him out a little bit as well. And I'm hoping that with this move, that's what we're going to move towards. It'll be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to watching Brock Bowers in black and silver. Like I said, I've been following him on Georgia. I love watching him there. So I like him in black and silver. I get to keep following him. So I like it. Our next pick, I was also very happy with. I'm happy with it for the reason of I believe that whether we go with Minshew or whether we go with Aiden, I want to give them some help on that line, especially Aiden. But I want to give them some help, and I feel like Jackson Powers Johnson here. I could not have asked for better help to come, especially in round 2, pick 44. I think that he was an outstanding pick, and I think that he is going to be one of our other draft players. That he's ready to go out there. He's ready to get dirty. His comment, of I'm gonna kick some ass for you, coach. That's what I want. The scouts described him as plays with a rugged, disdainful attitude towards his opponents. That's what I want. I want someone that plays with a disdainful attitude towards his opponents. I love the fact that that's his description. It really excites me. So he can do center. He can do guard. For us, I definitely see him going guard. We're pretty good at center, but I do like the fact that if we have an issue there, we do have someone that can play the position, can slide over and do what we need him to do. He has played more games as a center as far as recently, 2023. He was the nation's top center. He started 13 games at center. 2021, he played 11 games with 3 starts where he was playing right guard, left guard, that kind of thing. He moved from offensive line to defensive line. So he's moved around a little bit. So he's seen these other positions. He knows what's going to be asked from him as a guard. I think that he is going to suck up everything that's brought his way. I think he's going to learn a lot. And I have a lot of confidence in Patrick Graham. I have a lot of confidence in him. I was very glad to see him stick around this season. I think if we do really well this season, then we might not see him next season because I do think that he has ambitions to be a head coach somewhere. So we'll have to see what goes on with that. But very glad that he stuck around this season. I think that he's going to really help people develop, and I think that our defense is going to be looking really good. I think that our offense, that's going to be the question. I almost wish that we had the same level on defense that we do on offense. So hopefully, we can still bring Jackson Powers Johnson here along. I mean, he's 6'3", 328 pounds. I mean, this is a big guy. And he's the guy that's going to be blocking up there, and I love that. His weakness is he doesn't have a lot of lateral quickness. I mean, he's a big guy. He needs to maybe get a little bit more athletic, I guess, but he doesn't really have that lateral quickness that you would like to see. And his reaction is a little bit slower too. But I feel like both of those problems is from watching the tape, and it's from banging it out in practices and getting used to the pace of the NFL. I think that that's one of the biggest obstacles to anybody coming up is at the college level they think they got the pace of it, and now we're talking NFL, and it's a completely different world for these guys. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops that, and if he develops that at the pace of the NFL.
You got a steal with this guy. I had him projected as a first round pick. I thought he was going to go mid 20s. And for you to get him at 44, I mean, the guy has premier linemen all day long. He has all the stats, the weight, the height, but he has that intangibles, that Raiders attitude. And that is amazing. Like, I am really excited. I was more excited for him, honestly, more than even Brock Bowers for you guys.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get a lot out of him. What do you got?
He's a big boy. I mean, he certainly lives up to the Raiders' mantra. He's nasty. Oregon played a tough conference. Obviously, played some big time games already in his career. But the sky's the limit for guys like this. Like you said, the lateral quickness. Sure, I mean he's going to have to get outside and move, and if he's going to play guard, he's going to be moving around a lot, especially in an offense like yours that's going to pull and trap and do a lot of things to get the running backs going. So being an athlete at that position is crucial. So hopefully, he can figure it out. Like you said, that speed of the NFL is something that doesn't just come naturally. And he's going to have to learn it, and he's going to have to learn it quickly if he's going to step up and start on this team. So he's definitely got that Raiders attitude, though. So you got to respect it.
He does, and I think he fits the profile of what AP was looking for, which he's made the statement of just because someone's really good doesn't necessarily mean that they are a Raider. He's looking for someone like a Crosby that he's got the talent, he's got the skill, he's got the drive, but he also has those unique qualities that make him a Raider and fits in with where we are trying to bring the team. I'm going to say back to, because that's what we were. So, bringing the team back to, what the Raiders used to be. And I everybody that we can get that has that attitude and is going to bring that environment back to the Raiders, I'm a fan of. I can be, patient with the development of players as long as they are the right player and they're the right fit for why I love the Raiders. Lately, the past few years here, all the reasons that I love the Raiders have been dwindling because, we moved out to Vegas, which, I love the Vegas move. There's obviously the downfalls of it. I love our stadium, all those kind of things, but we changed our mentality there for a while. And we tried to be the Las Vegas Patriots there for a little bit as well. So I'm glad that we are now back to let's play Raider football, let's smoke those cigars after the game, let's talk some shit, let's do all those things, because that's what it was to be a Raider, and that's why I fell in love with the Raiders. And I think that for the fans especially, we've been waiting to get back to what that is. So Delmar Glaze, this pick I'm actually not happy with. Round 3 pick, number 77, from Maryland, 6'4", 315 pounds. His major claim to fame is that he has a wingspan that almost covers 7 feet. I mean, that's those are some arms to get around, and those are some arms to wrap you up for sure. It's not that I think that he is a horrible player or a horrible pick. I would have liked to see a really good cornerback here. I think that Delmar, I don't think he is field ready, as far as I don't think that we're going to just throw him out there and he's going to be amazing off the bat. I don't think that he's that guy. I think that he's going to have some downfalls, and I think he's going to have some attitude adjustments, and I think that he's going to have some learning curves. So I don't see him as a, field ready, get out there guy like Jackson or like Brock. And like I said, I would have liked to see a cornerback here. We waited to get a cornerback. I would have liked to see us get it as soon as possible. Honestly, I would have been happy with a cornerback as our second round pick, but you can't pass on Jackson Powers Johnson. So I am mad about that. I could have passed on Delmar Glaze for a really good cornerback. And I know that we lost some cornerbacks off the board before we got to round 3. I do realize that. He's not a player that really excites me. I'm not sure that he has that Raider mentality. I mean, his described weakness is that he lacks aggression when he's in contact. I don't like that. I don't like that as a weakness. I'm not a fan of that idea. I don't want a guy that shines away from contact. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops. I don't necessarily know, if you can coach someone into aggression on contact. I know that, there is a certain point where you can coach that, but I also feel like a lot of that comes from you as a person, your heart, your personality. I mean, you look at someone like, I'll use Crosby again, his drive and just obsession with getting that quarterback. That's not a coach thing. That's who he is and who his drive is. And for someone that, who they are is, hesitating on that contact a little bit, that worries me. He winds up being beaten frequently as well, which is a problem. He struggles to get off that edge with that speed. He has a lot of polishing to do. And like I said, I think that we could have gone cornerback here. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Do you think that he will stay as a tackle, or do you think they can push him inside?
Well, if he doesn't fix that aggression thing, then I don't know what they're gonna do with him. I certainly don't know how they're gonna put him inside if he's shying away from contact. Then I don't know how they're gonna put him inside. I'm not sure really what their plan is for him. I'm not positive what they're gonna do with him. That move to guard, that might work out for him as far as getting him out there. We'll see, but he definitely has a lot of work to do, and I think that personality wise, he has a lot of work to do to fit in with the Raiders as well. We're getting to the point now where we're starting to get, it's not just, hey, Max Crosby as the Raider anymore. We're getting to a point now where we're getting more guys that are Raiders and Raider mentality, and it's going to be, you have to fit in with that mentality or you're just not going to gel here. And that's what we want. I want an environment where if you're not going to adopt that Raiders way of looking at things, then you're not, you ain't going to fit in here. You're not going to play. You're going to wind up out of here. Cause I don't want to go back to, I'm not, I don't want to be, the New England silly nannies here. I want to be the Raiders. I want to get, I want to get penalties for unsportsmanlike conduct once in a while. I want that Raider mentality back. I want to be hated in the league. I want people worried about playing us. I want those things back.
You want to win.
For me, a guy like this, yeah, winning is nice.
That's when all those things mattered, because none of those things are what I'm reminded of the Raiders. Maybe the penalties, because they got a stupid one that kept the drive alive for us or something like that. But for the most part, that has been long gone. That hasn't been existing in years. I mean, having a guy like Crosby be the guy that's going to steer the ship and be the example would be great. Look, I don't know if this guy's soft or what. I mean, the scouts are saying, sure, that he lacks aggression on contact or whatever the hell that means. To me, it sounds to me like he's got to toughen up. And he's a big boy. He's going to a team that expects it. And it's obvious that they're beefing up the middle. They use 2 picks on an offensive line. So he must have something that brings him to the table, and hopefully they can find a way to bring it out of him and he can have success down there, but hopefully not to.
I mean, he was ranked 6th. It's not like, it's not like he was slouching or something. I mean, if the goal was we're going to focus on guard for these 2 picks, then, he was the best available for us. And I can't be mad at it from the take of, listen, we needed more guards, and these are the two best that were available. That's who we're taking. I can't be mad at that. I'm just saying that when I was watching this on TV, I was really hoping for a cornerback here, and we didn't get that cornerback here. We got a cornerback in round four, but I would have liked to see if there was some good cornerbacks available, but I'm not the coach. I'm not the guy making the decisions. And like I said, overall, I haven't seen this good of a draft out of the Raiders for a minute. So overall, I can't really be mad about it. I'm actually going to skip our round four, our cornerback pick here, the Cameron there from Mississippi. He's not a cornerback that excites me. We'll see how he does. He's not somebody that I think is going to go out there right now and make a huge difference. He's okay, and hopefully he develops into being something really good. But he's not a cornerback that really excited me. Moving around five, someone that does excite me is our linebacker choice. Round five, pick 148. We got Tommy here, Eichenberg, sorry, from Ohio State at 6'2", 233 pounds. We're going to see how that works out. He's someone like Diablo, who we have. That I'm a huge fan of Diablo. He's not a huge guy either, but he has that field presence. So we're going to see what he can do with that 6'2", 233 pounds. I don't think that Diablo is going to be here next season. I think that this is going to be his last season with the Raiders. So I think that they are looking for replacements for him. So this might be, his replacement as far as, that build or that style of a linebacker. This could be the guy. I mean, he posted 120 total tackles. He had 77 solo tackles, 12 for a loss. This guy does not mind getting in there. He'll get his body in there to block and create those lines of traffic, which is exactly what we need. His weaknesses are, they actually described him as below average athleticism, which, talking about, what do they mean by that? We'll see. They described Aiden the same way. In Aiden's case, I actually agree with that. Hopefully they were wrong here on Tommy here for that assessment. But one of his problems is he gets kind of glued onto his blocks. So that is a very coachable thing, and I think that that's not going to be a huge problem to get him out of there. I'm excited about him. I could see him as a fit for like a special teams kind of fit as well. So it'll be interesting to see where he fits in with all of that, or where they decide to put him. I don't know. Linebacker was definitely one of our needs, so I'm guessing they were targeting linebacker. It's not like this was like a random decision. Okay, cool, we'll get a linebacker. They were looking for a linebacker, and to get this guy in round five. I mean, 2023. He's Big Ten linebacker of the year, all Big Ten conference. I mean, he's a great guy to pick up at round five. So I'm excited for him. I think that he's going to bring something to our team. I don't know if he's field ready. I haven't really seen enough tape on him, to see where he's at. I'm guessing that he's going to have to learn how to deal with, with an NFL size kind of people coming at him, and we're going to see if he adjusts to that. I don't know. What are your guys' opinions on the smaller linebacker class?
Well, I mean, he's 233 is, listen, you got to be able to fly and you got to be able to tackle. So getting stuck on blocks is the last thing someone like that needs to be doing. Obviously, like you said, fifth round pick that can come in and play special teams is usually not a bad thing. All right. So if he makes the team as a position player, great. But, if he's going to be someone that they could use for depth, obviously that's what you're looking for in these late rounds, or maybe even hitting a home run like Terrell Bernard, like we have, a linebacker who was undersized but could fly and can tackle. So two things that You got to make sure that you can do, and by all means, you need to make sure that you stay off those blocks. So we'll see what happens. But like you said, Jay, I think he's going to be a special teams guy for sure.
Which is good. I mean, I'm a fan of beefing up all elements of the ball, and we could use some help on special teams. So if that's where he fits, then I'm happy with that. I'm not mad at that, especially for a round 5 pick. I think he was a steal at round 5.
I think, and this is just a methodology part for me, and this is for any team in any draft, but round 1, 2, and 3, those are your picks. Those have to be the picks that you're comfortable with, that you're gonna, make your bed with, and you have to support and back up, and they better work out, in my opinion. Round 4, round 5, okay, a little bit more, maybe some guy drops, maybe you can see more potential in them. For someone like Tommy Eichenberg, I actually think that, let him sit, let him learn, let him understand how things work over here. And then, honestly, even when you get into the lower picks like 6, 7, it's like, all right, what can we turn into? This is more like Clay at that point. Let's mold him into the one. Or Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But again, what is
the reason why we bring up Tom
odds?
Brady is because of how rare that is. Yeah, that's why we bring up Tom Brady, is how rare of a circumstance that is. So
right, and what are the odds? What the pure numbers say alone, that 6-round picks, what can we really get out of it?
When you talk about that late in the draft and someone who ends up being a diamond in the rough, there's a lot of players that you'll hear about that, and that's where your GMs get a lot of credit. So a 5th-round pick hitting can be very beneficial to you. Look at Diggs was a 5th-round pick, so you never know. This guy could put some weight on. He could figure out how to play the position and ultimately turn into a superstar. Or you could come in, play special teams, and figure out the defense, and then maybe contribute down the road. It's a gamble, no matter how you look at it.
Well, and again, let's face it, if I'm a GM, I'd rather much hang my hat on I've been hitting on my 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rounds versus I'm not going to get crucified over a 5th-round pick.
For sure. So tell us about Bills. Were you guys overall happy with your draft this year? The forums seemed like you guys were fairly happy with the draft, besides the wide receiver thing.
I think it depends on who you speak with. There are a lot of people that were anticipating the Bills to make a big move and take a swing at some of those wide receivers that were at the top of the draft. And when it didn't happen and we watched them fall one by one off of the board, I think people that have been paying attention to Bean and the way that they make moves, that there was a strong possibility that they were going to move back. And when they did, I was excited. Now, the Bills are going to catch a lot of heat for making moves with the Chiefs, regardless of when and where it happened, okay? The history itself can speak for it. But at
Any
the same
other
time,
team, it would have been less. Any other team, it would have been less. I mean,
Well,
and the funny thing is the Chiefs aren't even, like, your division. I mean, at this point, you guys have as big of a rival with them as we do. I mean, what the hell?
well, and that's just because of right now. And don't forget, too, that's... People call it a rivalry, but in my opinion, a rivalry is when both teams are winning on each side, and that hasn't happened yet. But don't also forget, we traded the pick to give to the Chiefs so that they could get Mahomes. And a lot of people, want to blame administration for that, but what they fail to remember is that Bean wasn't even here yet when that happened. So, yes, there's been some questionable decision-making, and I all know a lot of people wanted that receiver that the Chiefs ended up taking and said that the Bills should have. Oh, the Chiefs liked him. Why didn't the Bills like him? Look, man, I have faith in the administration. Coach, we can talk about on a different show. But as far as Bean pulling the trigger and making moves, he's been strong and got us some capital. But when we lost Diggs, sure, we had to pay some money over the top. But at the end of the day, this team needed to fill a lot of spots. And by going down and making more moves and then ultimately taking Keon Coleman in the 2nd round, I think it was a great pick for the Bills. Huge guy, played awesome at Florida State, had 11 touchdowns there. He obviously, is a playmaker. He's something that Josh hasn't had the entire time he was here, right? He's had guys that can go down the field. He's had guys that can go over the middle. He had guys that can work the sidelines. He's never really had a huge threat in the red zone where he could just throw jump balls to this guy. Every
Yeah,
time.
or like an acrobatic wide receiver. I mean, that's kind of like how I would describe him. Is he's an acrobatic wide receiver, and sometimes Josh throws those passes that you're like, where the hell is this going? And an acrobatic receiver seems like a great fit for him because he can throw it up in that top left corner, and this guy's going to jump and extend, and he's going to come down with that ball for you.
And I love it. It's something that we need a jump ball guy. Diggs was great. I'm not going to sit here and dog him because he was awesome. He played awesome for us, made a ton of plays. Sure, he had a shitty end to how it all went down. But when they were rolling, he was unstoppable. Man-to-man coverage, he was unstoppable. Keon is going to see a lot of man-to-man. He's a rookie, and people are going to make him earn the respect. So when he gets in there and he gets a shot, I really hope that he can capitalize. Also, Josh is the veteran now. He's the one that needs to show the guys how we're going to do this. When he came here, when Diggs got here, and Josh was still very young, and he hadn't really exploded yet. It wasn't until Diggs came here and played. Now, Josh can kind of mold the guys that he has around him to do what he wants them to do. You got Kincaid, you got Cook, you've got Shakir, and now obviously throw Coleman into this mix. It's going to be real interesting to see how they mix it up. And if this guy can go up and get it and do damage in the red zone, it's going to be really, really fun to watch for me and for Bills fans because it's something Josh hasn't had yet.
I think one of the other things, too, is, Bills fans that are upset about the draft, if you guys didn't want to give up that wide receiver, then you could have just gotten him. I mean, it's not like, oh, wow, what a shock. They got a wide receiver. If that's who you wanted, you could have had him. So you have to at least have some confidence or faith in the fact that this was a conscious decision that was made, knowing who they were passing on, knowing who they were giving him up to. The organization made that decision. You got to have some faith in that at least.
And look, I mean, the resume has been pretty strong. I mean, Josh Allen has turned out to be pretty good. We have a lot of guys that they drafted here and have gone and gotten signed by other teams. You know what I mean? It's some of the decision making, sure, we're always going to scratch our head at, but at the end of the day, like I said, they needed to fill a lot of holes. And a big play, big dude, wide receiver was certainly one of them. Yeah, he doesn't check all the boxes that some of the guys at the top of that draft did, but you know what? I really feel like as soon as he got here, it looked like he wanted to be here. And I hope that he takes the time to work with Josh and to work with the other guys and to figure out what his role is going to be because there's a lot of balls that are going to be available for him coming next season, considering the fact that Davis and Diggs are gone. So that's a big hole that needs to be filled. And to have a guy that big coming in and having an opportunity to do it, I hope he can take it and run with it, baby.
So to go as a first initial opinion of a Bills draft, people were saying we should have traded up, we should have done this. We have a lot of missing pieces still. We were missing on safety, we were missing on wide receiver, we were missing on offensive line, and a lot of the guys that we relied at were pillars. Your Mitch Morris, your Jordan Poyers, etc. They're not here anymore.
Starters.
Yeah, guys that were veterans not only on the field, but they were your locker rooms. They were your captains. So yeah, we need to plan for the future. We got younger, we got cheaper, we got faster, and overall, I'm not upset with any of the picks that we made. Secondly, to go on to Keon, the guy is an athletic freak. I mean, sure, he can't really run in a 40, as fast as Worthy, but we didn't want Worthy. If we wanted him, we would have picked him. But we saw that there was better value, and you know what? For a guy that's 6'4", and can still make, if you have not seen his highlight reel, watch it. It is impressive. Some of the hand-eye coordination, the way he can position his body, the hands on the guy. We haven't had a guy like that so far for Josh. So is he going to be the stereotypical run down the field and burn for a Josh Allen stratosphere throw? Probably not. But I don't need that. I don't need to win. I just need to win. I need to see production, and I need to see that Bills tenacity to really show, hey, we were comfortable with this guy, and there's a reason we picked him over all the other people that we could have drafted up for or could have gotten lower.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that. Well, I was surprised the Raiders didn't trade up too. Reports say that they did try to trade up, but since everyone ahead of you wants a quarterback, who's going to trade with you? So that's the problem. I was a little bit surprised that Bills didn't trade up. I did think that they would trade up a little bit because of the gap that you have, at that wide receiver position. But as we've said, I also respect the fact that it wasn't only, hey, we're a wide receiver away and then we're all fixed. If that was the case, then yeah, mortgage everything, move up, get that wide receiver, and you're good now. And everyone else you're hoping for and developing. But that's not a position that you guys were in. It's not a position that the Raiders were in. The position that you guys were in is you now have a lot of holes, and Josh is getting older. Our chances with Josh Super Bowl, those are all going down for you guys now as we go year to year to year to year to year. It's going down, and you need to do something quick to be that contender and to get where you want to be. So I wasn't really upset with the idea of let's get some more picks, let's flood people in here. I was actually a little surprised. I was expecting more of your undrafted free agents. I was expecting to see more of those guys as well. And during free agency, I was expecting to see a little bit more too because of the spots that you have. And I would think, you want a lot of competition for those, going out for those spots because you are not, I mean, I'm talking on the Raiders. We're missing elements too, but you're definitely not a wide receiver away from being a Super Bowl team. So giving it all away for a wide receiver, I don't think that puts you in any different place than you've been in for the past two seasons, 3 seasons. I don't think it puts you in a different spot.
The Bills hit the free agent market too. I mean, they're bringing in Quintez Cephas, the guy from Detroit, the one that got in trouble for gambling on himself. They're bringing in
Curtis Samuel.
And then this week, now they're bringing in Claypool. I mean, they're bringing in some veteran guys that are going to compete for the job. And don't forget, as soon as Trey White's money clears, you are going to see the Bills try to make a move at one of those higher-end free agent wide receivers if they think they need to do it. I mean, right now we'll see. Obviously, they're going to need to spend some of that money on the rookie class, but for the most part, they're going to be battling for that job in the when you come to training camp anyway. So the more the merrier. I like competition, and at the end of the day, you only got to pay a couple of them. You got to pay all of them. So we'll see what happens. I think that they'll continue to work on that position, though.
No, I think as a Bills fan looking, again, sort of understanding, at least from my very limited perspective, they've got who they wanted, especially, again, for where they got him. So trust in that Josh, who said he wanted Keon, that, okay, you got the guy you wanted, let's flourish with them now.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he was involved in that decision making at all. I mean,
I would think he would be.
He's the franchise.
I mean, especially if we're talking wide receivers, I would think that he would be a part of that. Of hey, who do you want to throw to? Because on the wide receiver, if I'm looking to get drafted as a wide receiver, I'm not mad about I'm gonna get drafted and have Josh Allen throwing me balls. I ain't mad about that. So I would definitely think it would come down to what do you think, Josh? Who do you want to throw to? What are you looking for in a wide receiver? Not that I think you need to make Josh happy to stay in Buffalo. I think he loves Buffalo. But just I want to make you happy because we're sick of getting up to this point and then not finishing it off. So, what do you want out of us for you to finally finish this off? So I could definitely see him being a part of that decision.
All right, so we're going to move onwards to Cole Bishop, second round, pick 60. He is a safety from Utah, 21 years old, 6'2". He is a 2023 second team All-America. He was the semifinalist for the Jim Thorpe Award. All Pac-12 teams over multiple years. I mean, in my opinion, I was really excited about this pick. This was one of the guys that I thought, if we can get him, I didn't expect him to go in the second round, but everything about him tells me that this is a pick that we won't regret, in my opinion. He's an aggressive safety. He's extremely intelligent. He gives me Poyer vibes. He is the guy that will run into the box, hit hard, go after the ball, and is going to be, in my opinion, a better version than even Poyer is. But that's just me.
Now, were you a little surprised about going safety with that pick, or was there a position that you would have liked to see first?
Personally, I think we needed safety. If you look at the depth that we have right now, we have Jamar Hamlin, who is a backup, and who's our main?
Rap.
Taylor Rapp. And in my opinion, I mean, I've talked about it once on the show. I'm not a huge fan of Rapp. I think he is no offense, a walking CTE case. He hits with his head, he gets extra penalties, and I'm worried about his health in general. But beyond that, I just don't think he was great in coverage. I think he got ousted a little bit. So for some new fresh blood that's willing to put in that competition, I was more than happy to have a safety. I honestly wish we double dipped.
I'm glad that we got the CTE expert on the show today. It's nice to have Dr. James along. To be perfectly honest with you, we needed to fill that hole, and whether it's Poyer or Hyde, who he plays for, James, he's going to have to go in and he's going to have to start right away. To take him that high in the draft, it's clear that they think that he's going to fit into the system. We all know McDermott's system isn't something that you just learn overnight either. So this guy is probably already in the classroom. He's already talking to some of the players that have worked on this staff or for the staff in the past. He's doing what he's got to do to figure it out. But when he gets on the field, if he continues to be the wrecking ball that he's been, I'm going to be excited, just like you, because he's got to come in and fill some serious shoes. We're not talking about two guys that, just went out there and did it. We're talking about two guys that did it as all pros and were instrumental in how successful McDermott's defense has been in the regular season over the last, 6 years. So is he going to come in and be, one of those two? I don't know. But I certainly hope that when he does get in and he starts to figure it out, he's a starter and someone that's on the field quite a bit.
So my only concern with Cole Bishop is that he isn't a pure cover kind of guy. He's not going to be the guy that goes back 10 steps and, is going for the deep ball. He's going to be in the box, and I'm excited for that. Like I said, I think he's just going to be a really aggressive kind of safety that will be able to sort of get in the runner's face or in the short face.
He's fast. I mean, he could fly. I've watched enough film on him to see that he will be blitzing off that edge, probably. In a league where you have a lot of young quarterbacks, they're going to make them think, and having a guy like that who's a missile that can come in there and make plays will be great. I just hope, like I said, that he starts and he's healthy and he's someone that can contribute in this rookie season.
Yeah, it makes it worth it. If you pick up, I mean, obviously Coleman's going to be starting out there, but I mean, if you pick up Coleman and Bishop and they're ready to go and they're starters, that makes the whole trading back thing worth it just for that. As far as we have two big needs that we had to get filled. They're out there, they're doing their thing. I think that time is going to tell for the Buffalo Bills fans that were against the idea or even outraged by the idea of trading back. Time is going to tell whether or not that was a good decision. I think that strategy wise, I think it was a good decision. I will say that, for your top three picks, looking at them and everything, I don't think that you wasted your three picks. I don't think that you traded back and wasted a pick. I will say that.
I think Carter's going to walk in and be a stud, to be honest with both of you. Dwayne Carter, we took him in the third round from Duke, and so he's smart. He comes with a lot of experience at the position. Played his entire career at Duke. Got banged up as a freshman, but finished really strong. He's exactly what McDermott loves in a defensive lineman. He's someone who is big, a plug, someone who can fill a hole, someone who will come in there, give you 2 downs, get off the field, and get back out there. He'll be a big part of that rotation, and going with Oliver and himself, that is going to be putting a lot of pressure on the run game for teams. He's a big body. He's someone that is going to demand a lot of double teams down there. And I'm telling you right now, these 2 defensive picks are 2 guys that most likely are going to play quite a bit. And we will get to see, like G just said, whether or not the Bills fans who were whining about, everything that we did, if they were right, or if the administration who's investing in the future made some good decisions. And I think that this one will be one of the great ones that they made, picking up Carter in the third round. So we'll see what happens. Jimmy, what do you think?
PC, can you elaborate for me? How much longer does Daquan Jones have left on his contract?
They just signed him, I believe, for a 2-year deal. I'm not positive, but I know that he's not going anywhere anytime soon. And thank you, because that combination right there, those three going at a quarterback together with a healthy Von Miller and hopefully Greg Rousseau and Epinesa, you're talking about some guys that have already spent some time together. So hopefully this kid can come in, learn the system, get on McDermott's good side, and be a big part of the rotation, making plays for us, for seasons to come.
Yeah, he signed a 2-year contract for $16 million in March.
Okay, and that's who he reminds me of. He reminds me of a younger version of a Daquan Jones, a guy that's going to be able to hold on to two defenders at the same time. He's a 3-down player, great leadership qualities, aggressive. He's a run defender. I'm really excited to see because McDermott rotates his line. So you're going to have a fresh Oliver, you're going to have a fresh Carter, you're going to have a fresh Daquan Jones. Plus, remember our defensive ends, like that attack kind of style defense, get into QB's face, stop the run. That's what I'm going to be excited about, and really hopeful that Dwayne can also learn. I mean, how many years of experience does he have with learning from Von Miller, from Daquan Jones, from Ed Oliver? He's going to be able to take all that knowledge, all that information, and hopefully convert it onto the field and onto his stats and into the play and onto a win.
Yeah, I mean, look, like you said, more than a plug, hopefully a starter and someone who can get after the quarterback. And, your front four can get home, you got a lot better chance of beating those top tier teams and making and wreaking havoc on guys like Mahomes is exactly what, has been the recipe for our success against them in the regular season. It's in the postseason where we need to continue to do that, and hopefully this guy can do it. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about our 4th round pick in Ray Davis. Another similar pick to what this regime has done over the years. Reminds me a lot of Singletary and a lot of what he brought to the table for us. And someone who may be undersized at the position in the league, but is a dual threat. And with what we have to offer in this offense, I feel like having a guy like Davis who can catch the ball out of the backfield and make big plays for the offense could be a perfect opportunity for us to take, that mid-round pick, that 4th rounder, and see what he can do. I really think that, with the skill set that he brings to the table, it's something that Josh has and will tap into, kind of like that over-the-top last option to the running back. But the one thing that we haven't seen with this team in the last couple of years is the screen game, and I feel like this kid, this type of running back, might be exactly what the doctor ordered to finally see the Bills start implementing some screens that are effective with running backs. And I think that's why they went after this guy, and that's what they're expecting him to contribute on the offense. So what do you think, Jimbo?
Powerful runner, and what I really like about him is that he has good behind the field traits. He's patient, he has vision. He's not just going to be a wrecking ball that goes straight into the line and hopefully he gets a couple yards. He's willing to wait things out, be patient, take his time with things, and let the play develop. And that's a very critical trait for a lot of running backs that just think, well, it's like college, I can just speed my way or power my way through. This is the NFL. And so take your time. I also like the fact that he's capable of going on many downs. He's resilient, not a lot of injury problems. He's not gonna replace James Cook, but again, I don't need anyone to replace James Cook. I need him to work along with the rest of our running back group and become an asset. No, just one cog.
You never know. One day he might have to be, in there for James Cook. Look, running backs don't really stick around here very long, so it's usually like a 4-year opportunity at the position, and you're gone. I mean, look at Bean's history. Even when you talk about Shady, he was only here for a short time. So who knows? We'll see what happens. I feel like, though, they really want to focus on using the running back in the passing game, and this is the type of player that could be exactly what the doctor ordered for the team. We'll see.
So moving on, we have a lot of guys like Cedric Van Pran, Granger, and Edifwan Ulofoshio. That took me a really long time to figure that out, how to say that. Javon Solomon. But the one guy that I have to say is the most interesting pick actually came in our 7th round, pick 221, offensive tackle, Travis Clayton. He is 23 years old. He is 6'7", 340 pounds, never played a single down of college ball. He played rugby for the UK, so he is an international player. Paul, do you have anything you want to say about that?
I mean, it's cool to have an opportunity for someone like this. It's obviously something the league is trying to do to kind of spread the game out internationally, and this guy will bring a new audience to the NFL. And with the size and the strength and the speed that they say that this man has, I feel like he's got a chance to make the team. I want to go back. Van Pran Granger, the center that they got, fantastic. Another guy who most likely will come in and will start right away. Brings a lot of experience to the table. Played for a great program in college in Georgia. So I feel like hitting on this draft wasn't so much as getting a guy that was going to go out there and win endorsement deals. Hitting on this draft was finding guys that were going to start. And if you look, down those picks, I'm comfortable saying out of, what was it, 8 or 9, that we've got a solid 5 guys that are going to compete for starting positions, come training camp.
I know you were very excited about Cedric, for sure. I mean, you were borderline jumping up and down over him, so I'm very happy. I haven't even
only
looked too much into
because I predicted it, and they got him in the 5th round, but I said they'd get him in the 4th, so I'm glad we got him.
So going on a little side, going back to Travis Clayton, just to sort of highlight a couple things, because again, it's not very often that we have an international type of player who plays rugby. We did have one actually before under Christian Wade, who was a running back. But he's one of the 16 players from the NFL's International Player Pathway Program. He was part of the 2019 NFL Academy. And what this really means for the Bills is that we have practice squad. We have an extra roster spot. So usually there's only 16 players allowed on the practice squad. He can actually be a 17th roster spot for that,
and that's Christian Wade fell under that as well. That's why they did that.
So it gives us an extra. It gives us an extra spot. It gives us an extra spot to again develop and hone a player the way we want them to be developed. It's increasing opportunity for players to develop and get a chance to play. As a player himself, he's athletic from rugby. He can be molded to fit the Cromer style of blocking. He's low risk. He's an extra free spot. So when you have to make cuts for players and teams, I mean, why not have that extra person? Mix it up.
So moving forward, I want to talk about the draft, but I also want to talk about a topic that I feel like it comes up a lot. I feel like it's been coming up more and more because we've been playing more and more games overseas. We did a poll on this on our Twitter account, actually, and it wound up being like 85% of people were in agreement that we should stop doing these overseas games. If we use that as a representation of people that are commenting on our Twitter, which is a substantial amount of people, if we look at that as a survey, that holds true with anybody that I talk to, just whatever, bump into them and talk to them about that topic. I really have not bumped into somebody that said, hey, we love these games being played overseas. We want to see more of these games being played overseas. We really are fans of this. So this is not something that's being done to please NFL fans, at least here, we'll say. It's not a move if I can do a quick poll on it, the NFL knows who's in support of it as well. So it's definitely not for American fans that we play games overseas. In saying that, I'm not really sure it is worth it for our overseas fans either. I mean, they say, okay, they play the games over there for our overseas fans. But if you look at the stadium, it's not like if there's a game between, Bills and Jags, it's either Bills or Jags jerseys in that stadium. It's a collection of, I mean, there's jerseys that are soccer jerseys out there. It's not like people are showing up to watch the Bills and Jacksonville play. They're like, cool, it's a football game. Why not? Why not just show up?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the NFL, they thought, well, we sold out our stadium, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, you're going to sell out your stadium if you have a very rare event where everyone's going to show up and watch a football game. You're going to sell that out. Now, are you going to sustain a team over there weekend after weekend, all those Sunday games and the Thursday night games and, this is our team and all that? Are you going to support that? No, I don't think that it's a model that's going to be successful. Now, looking at the NFL executives, they're all in favor of it. So if we look at like the executive VP here, American football is for all. It's a global game, an all-inclusive sport that provides the opportunity for all ages to enjoy the values, fun, and competitive environment unique to the sport of football. So that's his quote, is that, American football is for everybody. Well, if you look at popularity in other countries, American football is not for everybody. We lose out in baseball. We lose out in basketball, just to name, two easy ones that we also play here. It's not a sport that is taking off everywhere and everyone's a fan now and they're all demanding teams and all that. That's not the case. That has not happened. The NFL wants that to happen for their own financial reasons, but it's not something that has happened. And I don't see us going from where we're at right now to it changing to a huge demand where Germany wants a team and England wants a team and, Mexico wants a team. And I really don't see it. They don't have the infrastructure for it either. They don't have the fields for it. I don't even know if they have the money for it, depending on the area. It's not like it's a cheap sport to run. Goodell said, I'm convinced that this game is going to be a global sport, was his comment. We could have sold out our 2 games in Germany. They sold out in minutes. Yeah, you sold out your games in Germany in minutes because if you were in Germany and you've ever wanted to watch a football game or you just wanted to go for saying, hey, cool, I went, then you bought a ticket for that. It is a, 1 or, 2 time small event that is going to attract people to that event. It's not nearly the same thing as saying we have a team to support every single week, every off season. This is our team, doing the draft, all that. It's a completely different scenario. And I'm not sure that the NFL is respecting it as a scenario. Looking at just kind of an overview of downsides of this idea, and I'm going to come at it from downsides because I'm not a fan of it. So I'm going to come at it from a downside point of view. But some of these issues are issues that exist currently with this idea. Some of these issues get worse if we talk about the idea being expanding this to be a regular thing. In other words, if England got a team, how would that affect the league and these problems that might be small right now when we play a game over there get tremendously bigger if we're talking about a full season. So one of them is travel. Players, coaches, and staff, there's significant travel for your games. If you are going to go, to England now on a regular basis, you're going across 8 time zones. If you're leaving from, California area or whatever, you're going to cross 8 time zones to then go play a game in England. And when you think about that as a one-time thing, is it doable? Yeah, we do it. We've also seen the negative effects of doing it. But if we look at it as should England have a team, this is going to be happening often. I mean, every time that they're home, our teams are traveling overseas and everything to play a game. Every time that they have an away game, they're going to have to come over here. It's not like over here where they're going from, state to state. Every single away game that they have is going to be travel overseas. One, that's expensive. Two, how does your team possibly adjust to having to travel overseas that many times in a season? I don't think that it is. I think it's a disservice to a German team or to a England team. Free agency. So people get signed up on free agency or the draft that we just did. So imagine you're some college kid. You go in the draft. You're waiting to see who picks you, and you're the second round pick, and now you're going to go to Germany. Like that. That's great. You have to talk to your family about that one.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Gotta learn in the whole
University
language.
of Alabama.
Well, and throw in there too, G. How are they going to get paid? Are they going to get paid in American money? Are they going to get paid in German money? I mean, how are they going to handle? There's so many other things that that come into play when you're talking about this. It's nonsense to believe that they're going to go over there and just throw it at these people. They're going to accept it, and now those are going to be their teams for the next 50 years. It's ridiculous, especially in a place like that is obviously way more into soccer than anything else. It's going to be very hard to sell the NFL to people that really just, like you said, they're coming to those games because they want to be in an event.
So free agency is the other big one with free agency is, let's say, we just signed Minshew over here, free agency. So, he had to move to Vegas. Okay. During free agency, now all of a sudden he's got to move to Mexico or he's got to move to England. I mean, that's gonna have a tremendous impact on if players even want to stick around in the league. To tell you the truth, it's gonna have a big impact on that.
We have a hard enough time with explaining to players about the benefits, and this is a real impact that players have. Taxes. It's hard enough trying to get players to come to New York because our taxes are so much higher than in Florida or in other parts of the South where, it's a lot easier because they have zero income tax or etc. There's a lot more. They can collect so much more money. How are you going to do that on an international?
Oh, the international example that I have for you is, let's say we take a wide receiver, he earns $8 million, for a base salary or whatever, and then let's say he has a team that's permanently based in London. So $5 million of the income that he makes of that $8 million is taxed by the UK. Now they tax him at 50%. So $5 million of his $8 million, he's already at $2.5 million in tax from them. Then on his US 1040, they tax him at 30% on the full $8 million. So it's not even like they tax him on the rest. They tax him at 30% on his full $8 million. So if we look at what he's paying in taxes, he's paying $900,000 to the U.S., $2.5 million to the UK on $8 million of income. He's being taxed at 42.5%.
He's better off just moving to Europe and just staying there. I mean, that's what. If they were ever going to do this, that's the only thing that would make it work, and they'd have to make it lucrative enough for these guys to bring their families over there and make enough money to make it equal to the other teams, because the sacrifices that they're going to make compared to the teams that are playing in Kansas City and Cincinnati and Seattle are astronomical compared. Like what they would have to do to play for those franchises would be ridiculous.
Well, and sure, we can talk about how teams, these are multi-millionaires, but let's put it in your shoes. Would you want to pay that much in taxes? Would you want to take that hit? Someone's going to have to take it if that happens, and no one wants to be the one to hold that potato.
Yeah, it's all perspective. I mean, 2.5 million in taxes sounds a lot to us, but that's because we're not making 8 million. For us, our taxes seem like a lot because we're making less than that. So if you were making 8 million, then 2.5 seems pretty unfair to you because that's what you're making. You're making 8 million. So 2.5 is a big hit to you. And I don't see players going for that. I don't see convincing players that, cool, we found a way for you to play overseas and we're going to be able to take more of your money now. I don't see, you talking players into that. And field conditions is an easy one because field conditions have come up quite a bit overseas as far as, these fields and these stadiums, they're not equipped to handle an NFL game. An interesting point that was brought up, I hadn't really heard about it from this point of view before, is a reporter was saying, these fields are meant for soccer players. They're meant for 170-pound soccer players. They're not meant for 250 to 350-pound guys digging into the ground, pushing each other back and forth on the field. The field itself is just not built for the game of NFL. It is built for the game of soccer. So that affects us a lot, how we have it set up now, which is we just go over there for a game or two. But if you want to have a permanent team, they have to build all new infrastructure for these teams. They're going to need several new stadiums. They're going to need completely new kind of training grounds and fields and high schools and all that too to feed them players. If you have a team in England, you're going to want to develop players in England because those guys are going to want to stay in England. So even getting down to that level, you have to start all new programs, all new funding. It's a just insurmountable amount that you have to come up with to make all this work.
I love that you made this point about the fields too, Jay, because as Bills fans, we can remember what happened when they went over to London and played in Tottenham last year against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bills had Daquan went down, and so did Milano. So you're talking about two starters that were huge contributors on the defense that the Bills had to figure out for the rest of the season when they were out. Those soccer players, I love them, man, but they're just not as big, and they're not wearing the equipment that the football players are wearing, and the wear and tear on those fields is awful. And you're right. In order for it ever to be effective and for them to have a chance for that to go down, they would have to totally rebuild a lot of the stadiums that they have or build new ones in order for it to be successful, because there's no way with what they got now our team's going to say, yeah, I want my team going over there to play, because the fields are garbage.
I'll even go a step above that. And G, you brought it up about audience and why it's so less popular in other countries. Well, let's look at football from a pure equipment standpoint. In soccer, you need the nets, you need the field, and you need, really, that's it. I mean, you have the uniforms, etc. In football,
you need the soccer ball, James.
Thank you. Appreciate that. But in football, you have pads, you have cleats, you have all these different things, and they cost a lot of money. And there is such a cost associated with that for parents and for teams that it really doesn't allow for accessibility for someone that's just interested and wants to dip their toe into the water of it to say, maybe I may or may not like this. The NFL has been pushing for flag football, and that has been picking up steam for a lot of people in the United States, and maybe they'll go more international with that.
Including girls. It's huge with girls right now.
Yeah.
So let's look at that from a marketing perspective. Okay, that might help with things, but when you're talking about NFL regulation football, even NCAA regulation football, it's a really hard niche market to try and delve into all of a sudden.
And I see no problem. Like, why can't we have a sport that's ours? Why is that a bad thing? It's a bad thing because the NFL wants more money. I guess that's why it's a bad thing. But, it's not a bad thing that we have a sport that Americans get it. You don't have to get it. If you're in another country and you don't get it, that's fine. You don't have to get it. I don't get some of the things that they do either. But there's nothing wrong with saying that this is big here. Our population, both men and women, are into it. I mean, we talked last show about the growing population of women that are getting into the NFL as well, both as players and as, watching the games every Sunday. What's wrong with saying that this is our thing? And if you want to see our thing, then come here and watch our thing, how it's supposed to be played on the right fields, in the right atmosphere, with the right players. come here and see it. People come here for Disney World all the time. Come here and watch a Bills game, or even better, watch a Raiders game. Come here and watch that.
I know what often
it's
goes overlooked in this argument too, and um, people forget all the time about all the rules that the NFL has. And, for us who watch it for for our lifetimes, who know all the rules by heart, we kind of take that for granted. Imagine being a new fan that needed to learn all those rules. And we're not
yeah.
talking about a couple, we're talking about thousands of them that you and I take for granted, and that we are even the instant replay stuff. Imagine, I mean, obviously soccer and some of the other sports have that, but in football, there's nothing like it that, keeps people on the edge of their seat, because there's still, even with these instant replay, there's still some questionable calls that, golly gee, how could that be interference there now, Pete?
and they wouldn't have grown up with it. Like, why do I know the rules of football? Why do I know the rules of lacrosse? Because I played it. I played it as a kid. I played it growing up. That's why I know the rules, because you're a part of it. If Germany is not doing a football program at their high school to play the other local high schools to play football. So if you are an athlete coming into this, where are you going to find coaches? Are you going to convince American coaches to then move to England to coach an English football team? I mean, where are you going to find coaches? Like, hey, I watched the games on Sunday and I think I can coach this. I got this. I mean, the amount of work that it would take to make this thing work over there. And then I don't think it works over there. I think after you do this, after you have high school teams, after you build your new stadiums, after you have, your England team, I still don't think it works. It does not work with coming overseas and playing the Cardinals and then, going back over to England to play whoever, and then coming back over here, to play, the Bills or whatever. It just, it's not fair to the athletes. I think you're going to get a lower quality of football being played. I think you're going to have more injuries. You're going to have more people that are not into it. You're going to have people that are going to be outright disgruntled about being shipped to Mexico now. I mean, some kid coming from college in Alabama, now he's going to go play for a Mexican league. I mean, what experience does he have, with that country and all that? I mean, it does not work as an idea. There will be some people that maybe they love the idea of moving over to Germany and play. Okay. But I think you're going to have people on the draft, when they get selected on the draft, to go over to Russia to be on the Russian team, there's going to be some issues at the draft. There's going to be some issues with that.
Yep. They're going to want to play in different football league. That's all.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, and I don't even think it makes sense as a moneymaker for the NFL, because why not focus on marketing overseas? Focus on how can we get more people buying jerseys? How can I have ticket packages that entice you to come over here and stay in our hotels and go to our game? Like, if you want to do some kind of program, give an incentive for Germany or whatever, make it cheaper for them to come over here, bring them to Vegas. I mean, come on, make it an affordable, enticing trip for them instead of putting us over there. I would be okay with like a preseason exhibition in another country. Boxing is a sport that is capitalized on the idea of exhibitions as a way to generate popularity, as a way to make money, and, still keep it doable. I don't see a problem with an exhibition model of, especially preseason. I don't see a problem with an exhibition model over there in London or over there in Germany or Mexico or wherever we're going, where the outcome is not affecting the record. They have plenty of time after traveling to England. They have plenty of time to rest up before, regular season starts again. You're not having the major consequences. You are having the fun. And there is no way that you would not still sell out that stadium if you had an exhibition match between Bills and Jaguars. You're going to sell that stadium out just as much as mid-season Bills and Jags. It's not going to make any difference whatsoever.
With a lot of your, non-starters playing in the game, because people aren't even going to care. They're just, like we've talked about, they want to be there for the event. That's what it is. And you're right, G. Why not just promote it by using some of your younger players and your guys on the bench to get fans involved, so that way you get them more interested in what the product really is, and then they can see the stars like Josh and Mahomes and guys like that.
Well, and let's go back to talk about players and really focusing on these are professional athletes. These are players that have a schedule, that they know what's going to happen on Monday, they know what's going to happen on Tuesday at 8 o'clock this time, and they are used to it. Now you are going to have them travel all over the place, change time zones, jet lag. You don't even have just 3 hours. Yeah, it's a routine. And we see that with a lot of teams, with the Bills this year being part of this advantage, with Jacksonville being able to stay in,
London.
Thank you. Being able to stay in London for 2 weeks. That was a huge advantage, I would say.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, if you think about it, like that's all the things that would need to get worked out because of the advantages that would exist is something that we obviously, as a franchise, we know we don't want our team over there. We don't want them playing over there. We don't want anything to do with that. We didn't even want them in Canada. So, keeping business as usual here is exactly what the doctor ordered. If we want to expand the game, we want to get other people interest, like G said, give them an exhibition game so that they come here and they spend money in America, not the other way around.
So in saying that, why do teams go over there? Like, why do we see Jacksonville over there all the time? Well, the reason that we see that is because of the incentives or the bribery, we'll call it, by the NFL. The NFL has rules in place that entice certain teams to want to play over there. So Jacksonville is an easy example. The reason why they want to play over there is because Jacksonville can't fill their stadium for all their home games. And if you play overseas for one of your home games, the NFL pays you a smooth million for being over there. Your season tickets are less because there's less home games, and you don't have, the need to, I got to fill the stadium for all these home games. So a reason why a team like Jacksonville goes over there is they find it easier than trying to fill their stadium for every home game, and you might as well get paid while you go over there. So that's why we see Jacksonville over there all the time. There's also incentives for if you do not have a permanent home. So if you are, waiting for your stadium to be built or whatever else, then you have to go play overseas while you're waiting for that to be built, which, occurred with the Rams, or an example of that where they had to play overseas. Each team has to play at least one game internationally under the current agreement. So they are forced to go over there and play those games. I, have yet to hear players that were all stoked about going overseas either. I mean, I haven't heard any players like, man, I cannot wait to get over there in Germany and really just, tear up my body, and maybe I won't even come home. I haven't heard any players that are excited about that. So no one's into this. The fans don't want it. The players don't want it. It doesn't make sense as a move. There's no way it's making the NFL tons of money. Okay, you sell out a stadium while you're over there. Okay, whatever. But all that money is not coming back to the NFL because you're overseas and all that. And you're selling the same amount of jerseys, whether we played over there or not. The people that want to buy American football jerseys are going to buy American football jerseys. They might not even follow the team. It's just cool to have an American football jersey. It's just a style thing. So to me, focus on the marketing element of it. Let's get an exhibition game over there. Let's keep our guys safe over there. It could be extremely detrimental. And as Bills fans this year, you guys, got to find that out, but extremely detrimental to have this random game that winds up really mattering later on that you played over there in England. For you guys this year was ridiculous. You're playing a team that they've been over there. They were over there, they already played a game last week. They're all just chilling out, relaxing. They're used to it by now. They're ready to go. And then you guys, go over there. You have a couple of days, and boom, now you're playing a game. And that game mattered. And that game could have mattered even more as far as your playoff run. That game could have impacted you guys even more.
I've hated these international games. I've hated these international games since they implemented them. Back when Ralph signed the deal, It was all about money. You're right. The teams that and it was when we were struggling when this all initiated. They did the Toronto series, and I think Ralph got somewhere around like 80 million for 8 games. Back, we're talking almost 20 years ago. So like that was a huge chunk of change for an organization that was kind of down in the dumps for a long time, and he took a swing to try to get some people in Canada more interested. Look, Bills fans already had a lot of fans in Canada, and most of the people that went up to the international series anyway were from here. So the league, my point with that is the league's got to do a better job figuring out what they want to do, because to me, they're wasting time and money by going over there, and like you said, G, it could be detrimental to a lot of guys' health.
The league has got to decide where their priorities are. We can bring this back to the turf or real field argument too, as far as where is your priorities? Is your priorities actually for player safety and integrity of the game, or are your priorities creating an environment where, at least until they get hurt, wide receivers can fly down the field at 80 miles an hour on this quick turf and everything, but then they get hurt and then they're out. I thought after Aaron Rodgers, I thought that was going to be the end of it. Like, oh no, you hurt one of our national treasures. If it was Brady, they would have stopped the season, and they all would have put in new grass that day. They would have put in new grass across the board if it had been Brady. The NFL has got to decide, is the priority the American fan experience of making the American fans happy, since it is our game. We get it. We love it. We live by it. Cater to us. Don't cater to England or Germany or Mexico or Belgium or wherever. Cater to us. We've been here. We've been fans. We've grown up with these teams. This is our sport. These are our teams. And, maybe you could make a tiny little bit less money and keep people safe and keep them in the game and keep them playing. I mean,
yeah, right.
I was really expecting to see a turnover here on the turf field debate. I was really expecting to see it, but another year, all those injuries last year directly related to what they're playing on, nothing.
Well, they're putting grass in the new Bill Stadium, so I'm happy about that. That's for sure.
Two things. I think the NFL, as long as it makes cash, I don't think they'll change it because money, number one. Number two, talking about catering to the international audience. You guys watched the draft. How many picks were made by this guy in Ireland or this guy in England or this guy in Germany? I was like, oh my God, they're going all over the place here just to have people announce the 6th round draft pick.
I love when they would go into a bar that had like 4 people in it too. That was cool. Stupid.
To me, it's almost like desperation at a certain point. Like, I understand that you don't want to cut your losses on this, and you don't want to admit that maybe it was a bad idea. I guess I get that, but they're talking about expanding this idea. It's not even like, okay, we're going to keep it how it is because it's not working out. They're going to double down. It's like a state agency or something. We're just going to double down on this. It's not working. Cool. Let's put more resources into this. It does not make sense.
Forcing their agenda down your throat is the way they work. Look at Prime and all the other things. I mean, it wasn't long ago where you didn't have to pay to watch these things, and now, for someone like you, G, who's not in that Vegas audience and has to pay to watch those games, it sucks.
Yeah.
You're not the only one. Obviously James and I are lucky because we're in that Bills realm of watching television. But how long before you're going to have to start paying for Buffalo Bills television or the Seattle Seahawks station or whatever?
When I was growing up, it was, are the Bills going to be on TV, or are they just going to black them out again? I mean, I pay for me to watch my Raiders. I watch it through YouTube TV. If YouTube TV, by the way, if you're looking for sponsorship, I could use a free NFL pass, just saying. But if you're looking at YouTube TV, it's $70 a month just for your YouTube TV service. On top of that, I actually get one of the cheaper packages. That's $350 just for the season. after I spend the 70 a month and then the 350 for the season, if I didn't also have Prime, I would not be able to watch those games. So even when you buy this package, the all-inclusive see every game package, if I don't have Prime, I still can't see every game. This season, I couldn't watch every preseason game because preseason games can be blacked out on there. So even after all that money, I still can't watch every single thing that I want to watch. I mean, everybody is making money off this whole NFL idea, and I get that. I mean, I pay it, so how much can I really complain? You're charging me, and I'm paying it to watch it. But when my last year, when I switched over to the season ticket, it was phenomenal to not have to go places to watch my own team play. I have a whole projector room downstairs, and last year I'd have to go find a bar that happened to be playing the Raiders that I could, and then I have to fight the Bills fans. They have one TV turned over to the Raiders, every time I went. You know what I mean? And now I can, if I want, I can sit down in my projector room and, like with Derek Carr, I loved it because it winds up being a tall Derek Carr. You can point at him and you can hit him right in the chest when it's on the wall and you can start screaming at him. And maybe when he's that big, he can hear you. There's just a pleasure to that at home. And I couldn't get that until I paid the enormous amounts of money that I'm paying. This year, I'm hoping to split it with one of my other buddies that's a Raiders fan. So maybe we can split it. But they get you. So I think we're all in agreement. Let's look at marketing overseas. Let's look at an exhibition game overseas. But there's nothing wrong with it being a game that we understand and a game that, if you want to watch it played how it should be played, then come over here. If I 100%. Ever really get in the mood for a cricket match, then I'll go over there, but I don't really find myself needing a cricket match in my life. Okay. Thank you all for tuning into our show. If this is your first show that you've listened to, hope that you like it. We have plenty of other shows on our channel at this point. During the off season, we are doing shows every couple of weeks. Once the season gets going, once those preseason games start, then we will be going every week. We'll be talking about what happened that week. We'll be talking about betting odds for the upcoming games. We'll be talking about player highlights. We're still going to have guests on once in a while to talk about it. We actually have some of those shows at the end of last season if you want to listen to them on our channel. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button. We like to know that you're out there. We like to keep track of our growing audience. So far, it's been growing and growing, and we love to see it. Hit that like button. Let us know that you're out there. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us anywhere where you get your podcasts. Have a good night.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Raiders.
Gate.